Julian, you mentioned the city of Hula. Analysts report that the most significant enemy advance was recorded in the Hula direction, which counts for about 40% of all territorial changes. Why do you think Russia concentrated its efforts there? What tactical or logistical advantages does the Hula access offer to Russian forces at this stage?
I think Russia is not concentrating its forces there. It's concentrating its forces on Pokrovsk. But also Ukraine is concentrating its forces on Pokrovsk, which means there's almost no manpower in the south. I've spoken to several Ukrainian soldiers, and they just said, unfortunately, it's weak brigades down there. It's territorial defense. It's brigades which are not as important as others, which are defending the main strong points. And I don't know why. I mean, we have seen this differently in the past. I don't want to criticize anyone because I'm not in war. I cannot say this. But in the past, we have seen that Ukraine was concentrating its forces where Russia didn't calculate with it, where it was a surprise, where they could weaken them. For a year now, Ukraine is playing Russia's game. They are bringing the forces exactly where the Russians want them to be, exactly where the Russians push most. So that's really interesting, I would say. And in the end, I mean, there's an old saying: if an old Soviet army fights, an old small Soviet army fights a big Soviet army, the big Soviet army will win. So by just putting all of your manpower where the Russians are pushing most, it will not work because, as you rightfully said, Hula, that was the biggest advance. The Russians there advanced, believe it or not, 80 kilometers since the beginning of the year, since the fall of Kharkiv, 80 kilometers to the west in this area. They were not advancing from south to Hula, but the whole way from Kharkiv to Hula they advanced. So that's a lot of kilometers. And it is not because Russia is so strong in the south. They are not. It's because Ukraine is so weak in the south. And Ukraine is concentrating a lot of holding these areas which are in the media, which are under big scrutiny of everyone in the world. While at the same time, I mean, seriously, unfortunately, no one knows Hula beyond Ukraine and some experts. So this is why Mr. Zelensky wanted to have, just as he wanted with Bakhmut, that Pokrovsk is as long as possible under our control. And unfortunately, he also has a general staff right now, which is following exactly these orders and doing exactly what Zelensky wants. And I fear that it is in Russian interest to have Ukraine concentrating its forces where they are putting the most manpower, which is absolutely dispendable for them. They don't care about them, and they don't care about everyone being killed on the ground. Ukraine cares about it. So putting the most men where Russia puts the most men does mean that Russia gets rid of all the people they don't need, and Ukraine unfortunately loses its best warriors.
Julian, you referred to the city of Vovchansk. As of now, the occupiers have managed to infiltrate through Ukrainian positions in Vovchansk, but part of the city on the right bank of the Vovcha River remains under the control of Ukrainian forces. The 57th Separate Motorized Infantry Brigade reported. How critical is the situation in Vovchansk now that Russian forces have infiltrated parts of Ukrainian defensive lines?
Yeah, well, if you see what Vovchansk looks right today, it's nothing is left of the town. Unfortunately, I think it had 18,000 inhabitants when the Russians attacked in May 23, and now it's down to zero. It's only ruins. I think Ukrainians are holding some square meters on the outer southeastern part, which is only small buildings, but the whole center, everything that was big in Vovchansk, including the industrial area on the left side of the Vovcha, is under Russian control now. I mean, you could see, again, unfortunately, Russia hoisting its flag in the very south, on the most southern street, and then you saw, okay, a Ukrainian drone killing the flag hoister. So, okay, he was killed, but this doesn't mean that Ukraine holds this area. It means that Ukraine is south of it. We have seen Russian bombing, I think, Vilche, something like this. It's the nearby village south of Vovchansk. And if you see the Russians bombing some area, then and some area not, meaning Vovchansk is not getting bombed by the Russians, and also no drone strikes are there. I think that's an indicator. Yeah, they can see it. It's an indicator that there is very, very little Ukrainian presence in Vovchansk. I think part of it is still a gray zone, but again, this does not mean that Ukraine controls part of the town, unfortunately.
What does this type of infiltration tell us about Russia's current tactics in the Kharkiv direction? And what about not only Vovchansk, but Kupiansk?
Yes, I mean, When you follow the Russian narrative, it is a buffer zone they want to build. I think it's not a buffer zone. I think if you see where they're advancing, it's far away from the town, from the border. They're not advancing to the left and right from Vovchansk, and they're not so much advancing to the west of Kupiansk, but they are advancing as deep as they can. So, I mean, the real, you can see this. The arrows there, they are to the south in Vovchansk. They are not to the left and right. So I think what they're trying, Vivcha, that was the next little town I was talking about. They try to penetrate deeper into each oblast. They try to capture as much as possible, because if they know that in any case, if there is any sort of negotiated ceasefire or whatever, they can either hold these areas which are deep inside Ukraine, which will be a sting in Ukraine's flesh, or they can gamble them away very, very expensively against other areas which are now under Ukrainian control.
And about other threats, and about not only Vovchansk and Kupiansk, what do you think about the situation here?
Yeah, in Kupiansk, you still have the advantage that there's the Oskil River. I've seen many Russian attempts to cross the Oskil River with heavy equipment, and they have been stopped. You have seen, I think, just yesterday an MTU-20, something like this, a T-55-based bridge-laying system was destroyed by the Ukrainian army. So the Russians are trying to cross the river with heavy equipment. So far, it's not working. So far, it's only infantry and very light vehicles in Kupiansk, and this is why Ukraine has the power to keep pushing from the west, and always, slowing down a lot and even holding some areas of Kupiansk, which is, I think, a good thing. But it only works because of this unique situation there. You can see this on your map on the right side, from our point of view, on the right side of the Oskil River. You have also Ukrainian-held areas, so the Russians have a very, very thin line of logistics there, coming only from the north to Kupiansk, and they cannot advance from the east, they cannot advance from the south, they cannot advance from the west, and this is why it goes really slow there, and this is why Ukraine can send in some of the forces and make it impossible so far for Russia to capture all of Kupiansk.
Bilan, for the first time in Ukraine, the combat use of an R-60 air-to-air missile mounted on the Russian Shahed drone has been documented. Photos of the wreckage confirmed the presence of a launch rail and the missile itself on the downed drone. The images appeared on the analytical Telegram channel Про зв'язок від Сергія Флеша. How significant is the documented use of an R-60 air-to-air missile mounted on a Shahed drone in terms of Russia's evolving strike capabilities? What tactical purpose might Russia be trying to achieve by equipping a kamikaze drone with an air-to-air missile originally designed for fighter jets?
Yes, so I think this is, for now, that's a testing ground for several reasons. First, you can see that the missile was not launched. It was shot down because Russia also does not know which kind of countermeasure will take down their Shaheds. They don't know if it will be a Sting drone, it will be a ground fire, it will be an F-16 or something like this, or Mirage 2000. If it is an F-16 or Mirage, it could be that these missiles are suddenly being used. But if it's something else hitting their Shahed, and this was obviously the case this time, they're not even launched. They don't see a target, something like this. At the same time, I think also another reason why I don't see this to be coming regularly is that an R-60, it doubles the price of a Shahed. I mean, you have to really say this. The Shahed is still quite cheap. I would say it's around 100,000 euros each. I think it's more expensive than earlier because Russia had to adapt to some of the electronic warfare and other defensive measures of Ukraine. But still, an R-60 on it, it doubles the price. So I don't think this will be regular. Also, as I said, because Russia doesn't know if the Shahed meets an F-16 at all. But of course, it's a dangerous development. It shows that they are playing a lot with their drones. Unfortunately, they have so many capabilities. I mean, they're using up to 600 per night that they can say, okay, these 10 get some air-to-air missiles. These 10 get a new, let's say, a new SIM card. So they use another sort of navigation. So these 10 are going to Poland because let's see what they're doing. So that's a problem here. It's a big play field for them, and unfortunately, we as the West, not Ukraine, we as the West are giving them all the time and all the possibilities to play with their drones and to build more and more. I think it's 6,000 per month right now, and develop them. And when I'm seeing something like this, that a drone carries an air-to-air missile, I'm really worrying about our own future, about NATO future, about Central European future, not Ukraine, because once they will attack us, and they will in the future, as soon as they are finished with Ukraine, these drone fleets will not just be giant, they will also be equipped with all kinds of tools and all kinds of tricks, which the West, at least in the beginning, will have no means to defend against.